Hello and welcome.
My name is Sueva,
And I'm Kelsey.
and today we're going to be sharing a little bit about our missions trip to the Dominican Republic.
So, over the week that we were there on March break, we got to experience several different things, including working with both teenagers and young kids at a local school.
We also got to go on outreach and help out at an orphanage.
We also got to have many times of team bonding throughout the whole week, and I think I speak for everyone when I say we all thoroughly enjoyed our week.
All right, so let's see what some of the other team members have to say about their experience.
Howdy to those who are currently watching this video. My name is Jackson Culberson, a regular church attendant at JBC, and this year I was actually very blessed to be a part of the Dominican Republic team for the first time in my life. And today I will be sharing my own personal experiences with the form of worship that I saw down in the Dominican Republic and the message that it conveyed to me. It was during Sunday, March the 1st, that some of us team members were sent over to Pastor Christian's church, and this had been the church that both Pastor Christian and Dustin were giving a sermon on repentance and forgiveness at. And what stood out to me the most throughout the entirety of the service was just how the people exalted Jesus' name through song and prayer, and the atmosphere there was very upbeat and compelling. And you could really feel God's presence as they poured out their hearts entirely to Him, using whatever form of instrumentation that was made available to them. And in my mind, I was just seeing a lot of these people who had next to nothing in some cases, but only their faith to cling on to, yet they were just offering what they had left to God and trusting that His will would be done in their lives. And that really impacted me a lot. For example, there were a lot of folks rejoicing, waving their hands up in the air, and there were some people who had their face planted down on their seats, and that really struck me hard. And there was also a dude who was part of the worship team, and his role was to actually do what I call these vocal screeches, which I've never heard of before, where during some parts in the song in Spanish, he would cry out hallelujah or amen, or whatever other short phrase he would say in Spanish. But that really just reminds me of crying out to God, and that's really how worship should be. It shouldn't be something formal, done like a ritual, and they didn't even have words on the screen. They just sung from their hearts, and that was something that really impacted me. And it wasn't just apparent throughout the church, you could see it throughout VBS, outreach, and the teen program. So it was definitely something else. And also the thing that I'm holding right now, it is called, I believe it's called, what is it again? A kalimba. And now this is a souvenir that I got down in the Dominican, and at first I just bought it, just to help out the people there who are running marketplaces. But now that I look at this, it reminds me of the people down there and how they worship their Lord and Savior, and that's how I am called to worship Him too. Anyways, thank you guys, and this is Jackson. Peace.
Hi, my name is Riley Palmer. I was part of the Dominican Republic Youth Missions team. And while we were down there, we were serving in many places, such as the schools and the orphanages. But my favorite place, and where my most treasured memory is held, is in the public outreach, where we'd go into the community, see a need, and we'd fill it. So during this, I saw a few kids just off playing, so I went up to them, and I picked up a rock. It's just a simple rock like this, and I made it disappear. And they just loved this, and I taught them how to do this trick, and we all just had a good time, and we were able to share this moment of joy and this experience, and we were able to just connect over something as simple as a rock. And I just loved that, and that was really stuck with me. And thank you for all your prayers and support throughout this.
Hi there, my name is Ashley Muirhead. I was one of the youth that went on the Dominican Republic trip back in March. I wanted to talk to you guys about one of the highlights of my trip, and that would be just getting to know the kids and seeing them and being in groups with them and getting to know the certain age group we had. And so for me, I had teenagers, and let me tell you this, they are way different than the teenagers here in Canada where we live. These teenagers are willing to do things without complaining. They'll stick to whatever we have planned, and they'll make fun out of it, because as many of you know, that's not like teenagers here. That was my highlight, because there was no complaints, there was no, but why do we have to do this? It was just them, when we told them what game we were gonna play, it was, they got excited, or they didn't know what the game was until we explained it to them, but they enjoyed it, especially 9 Square. They all had a blast playing that. So that was my highlight of the trip.
So for me, how God worked in my heart was He showed me my flaws or my distractions. Before going on the trip, I was struggling in my faith, as we all struggle with something. We all have some type of battle or battles we fight. I was wondering and thinking to myself, what am I doing wrong? What's keeping me from growing closer? I couldn't click for me for some reason until I went on the trip, and it clicked, and that's how God worked into my heart. The funny thing is that it was actually the morning churches we had early in the morning before going to the school, or the adults going to the orphanage or whatever we were going to do that day. It was those little mini churches that showed me and answered the question that I was wondering, and kind of made me cry, because I realized when I was sitting there, nobody probably noticed, because when I cry I try to keep it to myself, but that's how God worked in my heart, and still to today I struggle, of course, but that's it. That's how God worked in my heart. He showed me the flaws, the distractions that I was struggling with, my battles that I need to work through to grow closer to Him.
Hi, I'm Maddie, and I went on the Dominican trip this year, the youth version of it anyways. So we were told to make a little video about something that really stood out to us on the trip, and so this is my little video. Thank you for watching. Welcome. What stood out to me on the trip was just how welcoming everyone was. Even though I had never met these people before in my life, and they had never met me, they still welcomed us with open arms and loving hearts, and they were so willing to interact with us and get to know us and cooperate with us, especially with the language barrier and us being awkward teenagers and not really knowing what to say and all of that. It was so helpful, and I love that and appreciate that. I haven't really experienced that kind of welcomeness on a mission trip before, so it was a first time experience for me, and I loved it. It was great. It was crazy but great. Yeah, it was a really, really great experience for me, and I hope that we can have the chance to do that again, to go back to the Dominican hopefully next year, or as soon as it's safe with all this COVID stuff, fingers crossed. But yeah, I know there were a lot of moments, especially like on the safari bus, or the times that we had to ourselves on the trip with the rest of the teens on the team, that we had a lot of really great moments getting to know each other and bonding and debriefing over the day that I really, really enjoyed as well. And that makes me so excited to go back again and see everyone next year. Hopefully, again, I guess I can't really say that for sure, but yeah, I had a great time and I loved it, and I missed everyone that I met there. All of the people that we met, it feels like a big family, even though we were only there for a week, and it was really great. I don't really have a lot of words to express it, but I loved it. But yeah, thank you for watching. That was my very, very short video. Bye.
Thank you guys so much. And Maddie, your story reminded us of something else. Sueva, do you remember Dustin's?
Oh my goodness, yes. So one of the first days that we were there, we took a tour around the towns that we were going to be working in. So we were in the back of the safari truck. Dustin was in the very back, and his water bottle fell out onto this hill. And we were all like, oh no, your water bottle's gone, that's sad. But then this guy who was driving behind us on this motorbike got off his bike, picked up the water bottle, got back on his bike, and drove to meet us. And it was just awesome, funny, but also like, it was a complete stranger, and he was kind to us over a water bottle, which was just great.
Speaking of adults that were on the trip, there were many adults on the trip because we were a conjoined group. The first week, there were a bunch of adults, and we joined them for the second. So let's go talk to Sheila about her experience.
My name is Sheila Palmer, and I was one of the youth leaders for the Dominican mission trip. It was an honor to serve in this capacity with this team for many reasons, one of which was to see the work that JUBC has been doing down the Dominican for many years. We have prayed for you over the years. Some of our church members have joined your efforts, but to see it firsthand was incredibly touching. There was a moment we were at the school, and I looked up and saw JUBC and the date of construction written on a beam overhead. I was literally quite choked up. It was also precious to see the long-term relationships that have been built between the Dominican ministry partners and the Carleton County folks. Another highlight was seeing our youth literally blossom in their work and their efforts in the Dominican. As leaders, we were blessed to watch them literally grow before our eyes in their confidence levels, their abilities, their faith. It was great to see them connect with the sweet Haitian and Dominican children despite the language barrier, for them to learn for themselves and discover how laughter and expressions of God's love are universal was really beautiful to witness. I reflect on our time there often, and I'm very grateful to have had this opportunity to serve and for our youth to have had this experience.
Missions. Missions can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, like travel, adventure, building buildings, helping those less fortunate. And they're all good things. But the real meaning of missions is to build relationships with other people. Relationships that will last not only our lifetime, but a lifetime of eternity. And those things that I mentioned before, they're just tools to get us to a place that we can build relationships with others. And I'm a true believer that we're all put here as Christians on earth to meet someone else that only we can minister to. And we need to do our job. And through life, we'll cross paths with people that no one else can reach. So therefore, we need to be diligent in doing our job of reaching people for Christ. In La Cienega at Johnny's church at the orphanage, I met a little guy, and his name was Adrian. And every morning that I went there, it just seemed like he gravitated to me for some reason, hugged me, smiled, hung around with me all day long. We shared meals together. We couldn't speak each other's languages, but we did a lot of talking. And we built a relationship. And I don't know what impact, I may never know what I had on his life, but someday my hope is that something that I did or said will have an impact on his life, that he'll give his life to Christ, and I'll see him someday in heaven. That's the hope of the Christian. So I just encourage anyone that's in missions or thinking about missions to really stop and think about building relationships with other people, how important it is. It's not about the money, it's not about the food, it's not about the buildings. They're all good and we all need those things. But we need what's in our heart and what stays in our mind to get us through to eternity. I started missions 30 years ago, and I've been on a lot of trips, met a lot of people. And I don't know how much longer I'll do this, but Lord willing, it'll be a while yet. And anyone thinking about missions wants to really give it serious thought and what they can do in the hearts of some other people.
Hi, my name's Simeon. My favorite, my highlight from the Dominican Republic trip was definitely one of the little girls decided that she wanted to be friends with me, so she took me by the hand and she just had me walk with her for the rest of the day, and we sat with each other and we played patty cake and stuff, and it was just so awesome to see how loving they were and how caring she was, and even at that young age, and it just felt like such a blessing to be there. I feel like I probably learned as much from them as they had learned from me. Yeah, that was definitely my favorite part, was being able to just connect, even though we barely understood each other or each other's languages. Even with the language barrier, it was still amazing to see how much we could connect.
Stephen asked me if I would share a few words with you about the privilege that has been mine to go to the Dominican Republic on mission trips. My intention was to go only for 1 year, but we just returned in March from our 5th trip. And I'm so thankful for the way that it has challenged me and encouraged me and blessed my heart. I've come to love the people, I've come to appreciate them. They've taught me so much about faith and love and encouragement. And I just sometimes feel like they've given far more to me than I've ever been able to give to them. The first year that I went, I was very emotional and didn't think I could go back, because on the outreach program, we found ourselves in some pretty desperate situations, and it was just heartbreaking at times. And I thought, what's the use? We can't possibly help all these people. And I've come to realize that we can't, but we can help a few, sometimes just in the moment, sometimes in a more tangible and long-lasting way, but I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for those who have given their hearts to Christ as a result of the ministry that Pastor Johnny and those who work with him have when we go out and into these communities. And I'm just thankful for the privilege of being able to go and to minister and to be ministered to. Just a few months ago, I had a man that told me that someone had asked him to go on a mission trip with them, and he had told them no. And I asked him, I said, why did you say no? And he says, because I'm afraid it would change me, and I don't want to change. Well, going on a mission trip will change you. It will change the way you look at so many things, but in a good way. And I'm so thankful for that change. I kind of feel bad for that man, that he's not allowing God, the opportunity to change his heart and his life. But I'm thankful for the privilege that has been ours to be able to go. And I hope and pray that we'll be able to continue to go for some years yet. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Suzanne Alexander, and I had the awesome privilege of being part of the Dominican mission trip this year. I've been asked to share with you a highlight of my trip. That's a tough one. I don't think that anybody involved in a trip like this can share one highlight, but I'm going to attempt to share with you something that I've learned on this trip. I had the opinion that I was to go and work and serve the people that live there, and that was exciting to me. However, I learned a lot about myself and a lot about the way we live here in our part of the world. Towards the end of the week, a new washing machine was purchased for Johnny's wife, Murphy, and I got caught up in the excitement of her new purchase. She was thrilled to have it. And I guess in the Western world, we don't always think about a new appliance as being a highlight or giving us excitement. And I just feel that this people that we served were such a happy people, and they didn't have much in many situations, but they always had the joy of the Lord. And it's given me caution when I came back to just think about the things that I do have, the luxuries that I have, and to see the joy in the simple things. And I think that will stay with me for a long, long time. Now, again, there will be other things that I could share with you, and if you want to chat with me, I'd love to share them. But that's a highlight. That's one that I will never forget.
Hey there. My name's David Bailey, and I can sum up my mission trip with one word: amazing. The experience was totally fulfilling. I experienced joy and love like never before from a people who knew nothing about me. I had traveled there 12 years ago and had always said that I've wanted to go back to help. And with this experience, I worked very hard to make it happen, and it did. God is good. With this experience, I found joy in people who have very little. Love unabashedly shown. I've never been hugged so many times in my life. And the experience was a growth for me. Could never pay $1 million for it. I now know that I should be much more thankful for all that I have. They're thankful for what little they have. They show it. They show it in their daily lives. They show it to others. And they show it in their worship. Amazing worship. I thank God for this opportunity and pray that it will come up again for me to do. I need to go back and do more work there. And God willing, we will be there. I thank God for that. And I thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing your stories. Kelsey, earlier you and I were talking about your experience on the trip. Do you want to share that with our watchers?
Sure. So, the trip was amazing for me. I experienced God in many different ways, but I have to say the most powerful moment of my whole week was just being able to take the trip with my mom and my brother. So we got to spend lots of time together throughout the whole day with my mom doing snack for the VBS and the teenagers. I just got to see her every day and this new fun-loving side of her that I don't always get to see at home, and just being able to experience how God worked with my little brother as well, just in the different conversations we've had since we've got home. And it was nice having that little piece of home with me there, so it just made it more comfortable for the week.
That's awesome. All right, let's hear from some more people.
Hi everyone, my name is Stephanie Ketch, and this was my first time going to the Dominican. It just was an amazing experience. Even before I left, I was starting to have a lot of anxiety about the financial aspect of it, about leaving my kids and my husband all alone to survive a whole week without me. And I was starting to kind of question whether I should even go or not. But luckily, God gave me the peace that I needed in order to just feel that this was the right time for me to go and the right thing for me to do, which was great because peace of mind is an amazing thing. When I arrived, it was such a neat culture. It was such a different way of living. They're more relaxed, loving and welcoming. That was one thing I really loved. Even with the language barrier, it didn't seem to matter. They were just willing to hear what you had to say, and just loved life, they seemed to. even though maybe sometimes their living circumstances were not the best. They were just a really unique group of people. And I'm so looking forward to the next opportunity of when I can go back again and see different parts and meet different people and just experience it all over again. It's an amazing opportunity, and you can work with people from babies right up to the elderly, and they are always so grateful, and they love any little bit that you have for them. They appreciate everything. So that was my trip. And like I said before, I can't wait to have the opportunity to go back again.
So the most memorable, the most impactful moment of the entire trip for me was my outreach experience. On a Wednesday morning, I believe it was 25 degrees when we started, we went out to this Haitian community. We got some food and then we handed it out to people. We handed out these bags of groceries. We handed out care packages full of things they may need. We handed out Bibles and glasses and pain medication for anyone that may need it. And we prayed for people. And that was the outreach experience in a nutshell. At the first house, though, there were these two little boys. And so we gave them baseballs. And we just spent 5 or 10 minutes before going on to the next house, just hanging out with the boys. We gave them some candy, and we threw the baseballs back and forth. And it was a chill little moment. We didn't talk, we just hung out with them, and it was just a really nice little time together. We went on to our next house, where there was a baby, and then another baby, but I couldn't hold the second baby because I was holding the first baby, and she was the cutest thing ever. I loved her immediately. And so we talked with the people there. We handed out the food, the Bible, went through the stuff, and we just talked to them. And then went on to our third house. At the third house, there was a man and his wife and 2 kids of theirs. And this guy spoke Creole because he was Haitian, and that's the language that the Haitians speak there, Creole. And it's very similar to French in some ways. And so I was listening as our Creole to Spanish translator was talking with this gentleman, and I could understand a little bit of what they were saying. And it was just very interesting to me because I was not expecting to be able to understand what anyone in the Dominican was saying if they weren't speaking English, right? And so I understood, and that was just a very nice little connection that I felt with that guy. And so that was that, and then we went on to our fourth house, and then after that, on the way back to the school, I was just sitting there in the back of the truck, thinking and feeling, and I was just left with the most immense amount of joy. And that joy set the tone for the rest of the trip. From that point on, I was just floating from like moment to moment, just so aware and in awe of how incredible God is and how He is everywhere and all the things that He's doing and this incredible opportunity that He has given me. And so I was just feeling and thinking, and that was the most incredible moment. And because of the way that it left me feeling, I will never, ever forget that time. Never, ever, ever. It was amazing.
That was great, thank you. Hey, Sueva, do you want to tell us about your experiences on the trip?
Yeah, I would love to do that. So, oh wow, it's really hard to decide what to talk about. I could tell you about outreach or VBS or the teen program or like the team itself. Everything was so awesome. But one of my favorite parts, I think, was just being with the kids. I love kids, they're hilarious. There were these 2 little boys who lived with their parents on the street that I was doing outreach on one day. So we were passing out candy to the kids. So they would go from house to house and just visit with their neighbors while we were also going house to house. So they ended up getting candy about 4 or 5 different times from us. It was pretty funny.
That's great. Thank you, Sueva. While we've got some time, let's talk about some of the team bonding we got to do. So on one of our days, school had gotten canceled due to rain. And I mean a lot of rain. Almost as if school got canceled here because of a snow day. So we had to change our plans up. We got to go on a day trip that day, though.
Yeah, we got to go see Mount Isabel del Torres, which is a mountain there, and it's beautiful. I really loved seeing the people there and the nature. It was awesome. It's very different than here. It was warm. It was very wet. And yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Just that trip reminds me of the time when we got back after. We still had time before supper, so we decided just to go as a group of girls up to the room, and we were just telling stories back and forth about the day. And Sophie, one of the girls that went on the trip with us, told us a story about this cow she saw, and we started laughing. And Danielle didn't quite get it, and then when she finally did, she started laughing. So we all started laughing with and at Danielle for finally getting it. But I think that was definitely a fun team memory. But what do you think? Should we see what Danielle thought of the trip?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Hi, my name is Danielle Alexander, for those of you who don't know me, and I go to Jacksonville Baptist Church. Today I'll be sharing my highlights from the missions trip we took to the Dominican Republic this March break, and I'm just really thankful that I even had the opportunity to go down and be a part of this team, and it was really life-changing, and I'm so thankful for it. So to start off, going into the trip, I had the idea in my head. I was super excited to be able to spend time with kids at the elementary school age. That's what I was looking forward to the most, and that's what I had my mind set on. Little did I know that that was not going to be the case once I got down there, but I just didn't know that yet. So we get down there, and I was thinking about all these things I was going to do with the kids, all the games I was going to play. I was so excited. It's the day of, we're eating breakfast, everyone's super excited. I'm sure there was lots of nerves too. And if you didn't know, we also participated in something called outreach down there, where you go out and you give food, you go into homes that are needing the supplies that you give them, and it's also very eye-opening, and it's nice that we get to experience that too. But I was so focused this morning on the elementary school kids, I didn't even think about anything else. So I'm eating breakfast, and Stephen comes over to me and he says, "So we had a little bit of a schedule change. Do you think it's okay if you go on outreach this morning?" And it was very overwhelming in the moment, thinking about it now, but all I could think about was elementary school kids, and I wanted to meet them, and I wanted to interact with them, and I was scared that if I didn't meet them on the first day, they wouldn't bond with me as much. But of course, I really wanted to go on outreach too, so I was torn. And I ended up going on outreach, and wow, that was an eye-opener, and I'm really thankful that I made that choice to go. But little did I know, it didn't stop there. That's not the only reason I went on outreach. There was more than that I didn't know at the time. So after outreach, I came back, and I was overwhelmed from everything I just saw. It was crazy how much that just, like, it makes you sad, but it makes you happy, and it just changes the way you think. And so I got back, and I had the afternoon, and it was time to prepare for the teenagers, because we did the elementary school VBS in the morning, and then we did teenagers in the afternoon. And I hadn't thought about this one as much, and I wasn't as prepared, and I didn't really know what to do, because I've never really spent as much time with teenagers, especially in a different country that I don't know how to speak their language, and so I was a little bit nervous. But then the teenagers arrived, and I got my group, and they were around the same age as me, but they didn't know that, I don't think. And so yeah, I never bonded with people as much as I bonded with those teenagers. And there was a group of girls, and I'm just so thankful that I got to meet them. And this was the main highlight of my week, just bonding with those high schoolers and being able to spend time with them and play games with them. It just melted my heart, and I really just, it opened up my heart, and I didn't know it's what I needed, but God knew that that's what I needed that week, and He knew that I needed to focus on the teenagers. And of course, I still had so much fun with the elementary school, but I just needed to have an open mind, and God showed me that through spending time with the teenagers, and He showed me that I can connect with people of any age if I'm willing to. And yeah, it really just, it changed how I thought about it, and I'm really thankful that I did outreach that day and that I got to meet those teenagers, and I'll never forget it. It really was amazing, and I'm so thankful that I got to take that trip, and I'm so thankful that I experienced that, and overall it was so worth it. I'm so glad that I did it. So yeah.
I'm Matthew Palmer, and I was part of the team of youth that went down to the Dominican Republic to help at the school with BBS, and it was an amazing experience. Thank you all for your support in helping us get there. My highlight of the trip would have to be going on the first Sunday. Our group split up and went to, I think, 7 local churches in the area, and I was part of the group that went to Pastor Johnny's church, which was located at the orphanage. And that was just an incredible experience, just to see the facility they had there and to see what the team has been doing years before my team even went there. It was really cool just to see what they've been up to. And meeting all the kids was really cool, and just seeing how energetic they were, how excited they were to see us, and how just energetic they were singing the hymns. It was just an overall amazing experience, and I loved it very much.
The highlight of the Dominican missions trip for me would have been the last day at the school with all the kids, where we all were like in our routine and we all knew what to do, and it flowed so smoothly, and everyone was having so much fun, and we were all laughing, just creating memories. That's the highlight of the trip.
Good morning, JUBC. I want to express how much I've missed worshiping with our church family over the past few months. My name is Lisa Johnston, and I have been part of JUBC for the past 2.5 years. I was baptized on January 28th, 2018. If you had mentioned to me a few years ago the country of the Dominican Republic, I would have responded with, "It's a great place to visit." But that response today is much different. The mission trip meant so much to me. With that, I want to share a verse from Ephesians 2, verse 10. It says, "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God has prepared in advance for us to do." This quote, "to do good works," is so broad, and I often ask God, "What's your plan for me?" And I pray that I begin to understand His plan and live it. This is take 3. Stephen asked me to speak about my experience in the Dominican Republic. My most memorable experience was the week I spent at the children's home. We provided built bunk beds, painted rooms, decorated, and gave their space a very nice, homey feel. I've always wondered what God's plan was for me and is for me and continues to change on a daily basis, but I feel the Dominican Republic is definitely what God has chosen for me to be involved in. If you know me, I love to travel, I love to eat, I love the warm weather, I love to make connections with people, I love to help people. This all occurred in the Dominican, and I'm sure that, and I know that God's hand was in it. So if you have a chance to get involved in a mission trip and want to help people, definitely give the Dominican a chance, give it a thought, because it definitely is a life-changing experience. Your heart will be changed, and your life will definitely be impacted in many ways that are really hard to explain other than on this short video. My heart was changed in the Dominican. It was also strengthened. The work done at the children's home was pure joy each and every day. I could not wait to get up in the morning, get to work, and see those children's faces.
Slava, it's been great co-hosting with you, but there's something different about this whole experience with all the changes to what's normal now. I almost feel like a high five is necessary, but is that even possible?
We can do it digitally.
Hold on. Wait.
Okay.